Hey, what's up, nerds? Welcome back to Guys That Magic. I'm Shane, and I'm joined by David. Say what up, dude.
Hey, how's it going?
We are going to do some more spoilers for Bloomburrow. Bloomburrow? Yeah, Bloomburrow.
Bloomburrow.
Today is the 10th of June. Let's go over some of the new cards talked about today. There aren't too many rares that got spoiled, so we're going to talk about some rares and some uncommons. Let's just jump into it. All right, this first card, Zoraline, Cosmos Collar. One, a white and a black for a 3/3 Bat Cleric. Got flying and vigilance, and it says whenever a bat you control attacks, you gain 1 life. It also says whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may pay a white and a black and pay 2 life. When you do, return target non-land permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter. That's pretty good recursion, right?
Kind of. It only hits small things, and it does hit them with a finality counter as well. So, like, you're not really repeating things. It's
Yeah.
like, I almost feel like this wants to be an engine, but because it has limitations, it only does it once.
Yeah, I could see that actually. It's got a couple valves on there. You can also loop it, right? Because you're paying a lot of life. You're probably going to hurt yourself.
I mean, you also gain life whenever bats you control attack, and this in and of itself is a bat. So, like, you do mitigate some of that life loss.
True. Got flying and vigilance too, so a little bit of evasion. Oh, and it's a legendary too, so I'm sure we'll talk about this later during our commander grades.
Yeah. Um, Past that point though, like for limited this sees play, this is fairly decent. And then just like on its face value, I mean like it's pretty solid.
I agree.
Uh Reanimation, 3/3 body, all that other kind of fun stuff. Do you think that maybe we're getting a bat deck in standard?
I don't know if we get a. Ah, I don't know actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, we'll have to see how many more bats that are playable come out. But even not just a bat deck, but I guess this could be the bat deck, or this could be the only bat in said deck, just for some decent recursion maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah,
Uh,
I'm not 100% sold on this card. I don't think it's bad, but
is it bat?
it's bat.
All right, let's move on. The next one is Sunspine Lynx. 2/2 red for a 5/4 elemental cat. It says players can't gain life. This damage can't be prevented. And it also says when it enters, it deals damage to each player equal to the number of non-basic lands that player controls. Now that seems like a pretty good card, David.
Yeah, this card is pretty gas.
Yeah. Wow. Just the first two lines are, I would say, very relevant.
So, I mean, obviously like it's very good up against like life gain decks just because it shuts down that strategy. Do you think that this would like I don't know, my confusion here is that like at 4 mana, I think this is probably too expensive to like see play in the like main board of like a burn deck.
Yeah.
Maybe sideboard play?
Maybe sideboard player. Also, just like I feel like this card kind of punishes the slow, like grindy counter decks, that want to play late game because pretty much all their land are going to be non-basic, and some of those decks do enjoy gaining life. So this could just be a way to shut those decks down.
Yeah. I think that this is definitely like this is a commander card. This is really solid there because there's probably going to be somebody who has some form of life gain. Damage can't be prevented is a really, really fun line that's going to catch people off guard.
Yeah,
Yeah, suddenly your protection doesn't do a very good job of protecting.
and I don't know what the name of this treatment is, but I am a fan.
Yep.
It reminds me of
Uh,
like the Da Vinci art kind of, but it's not as like technical, I guess. I don't know, it's still cool though.
yeah, it's almost like a wildlife, I don't know, like a zoologist notebook kind of type thing.
Yeah, but the language is alien.
Maybe it's squirrel.
You know what? Cheeky baby, it's squirrel. Oh, this is a cool card though.
Yep, like this one a lot.
All right, let's move on. The next one is Manifold Mouse. For one in a red, it's a 1/2 mouse soldier. It has offspring 2. It also says at the beginning of combat on your turn, target mouse you control gains your choice of double strike or trample until end of turn. Now, if you're playing mice, this might be a good card to add.
Yeah.
Do you not agree?
No, I definitely do agree. I think that this is going to be a very punishing card. I do actually see like a Boros mouse super aggro thing forming, especially like if you're capable of putting +1/+1 counters on some of the mice, which that very much so looks like something that you can do, or be able to just pump them up in other means. Like giving something double strike can make it
Yeah.
very, very scary. And then if you do happen to drop this in the late game, you give it double strike and trample.
Double strike and trample, or if you have two things and you're just like, I'm just gonna go double strike on both those creatures.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, this is a card that it's very good. This will see, like, if there is a like Boros aggro deck, it wouldn't surprise me if this was a 4 of.
I believe it. I think it'll be really funny to see in standard, like, if there's gonna be a aggro, just like even mono red deck centered on mice. Because just even for 2 mana dropping this and giving something else double strike, you're gonna do a lot of damage.
I mean, I'd imagine that we probably would. Rotation is getting ready to come up, and generally, whenever rotation does hit, like mono white aggro and mono red aggro tend to kind of rear up, just while the metagame is trying to establish itself.
Yep, and red's always, unfortunately, in best of one, it's always pretty good. And then I guess the last rare we're going to talk about today is Iridescent Vinelasher. 1 black mana for a 1/2 Lizard Assassin. Got Offspring 2 as well. It's got a landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, this creature does 1 damage to target opponent. Now, with those stack up, if you get 2 of these, you can start hurting some opponents, man. Unfortunately, it does say target, so it's not going to be all of them, but
So, out of curiosity, there, because I heard whenever you were reading this, do you think that shorthanding enters the battlefield to just enters is confusing?
it tripped me up a little bit, I'm not going to lie. Because, like, my brain automatically wants to continue that sentence.
Mhm.
But, I mean, I can see why they do it. It makes sense. The longer you play Magic, you know what enters means.
And you know what? Maybe that's my problem. Is that like I feel like this obviously has more than enough space on the card where it could have just said enters the battlefield.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. For me, I'm looking at like this from the perspective of a new player of like enters where.
I mean, you're not wrong. It is going to be funny, though,
Uh,
because we can't say ETB anymore. We just say E.
I'm still gonna say ETB.
I know. This card, though,
um, yeah, it's cool.
I see it having a lot more legs in standard, obviously
I
for
think
that
it's
target opponent reason.
I think it's only gonna have 2 legs regardless of what format you play it in.
Unless you offspring it.
That is true. You could end up
Yeah.
with 4 legs.
This is a cool card, though. One mana. If you don't offspring it, 1 mana. Pretty good.
It is really neat. We don't really get a whole lot of landfall in black. We're starting to see more of this, especially with like we just got that legendary plant. I can't remember the name of it from Modern Horizons 3 that I feel like this would slot beautifully into as far
Necro
as like a
Bloom.
commander deck. There you go, the Necro Bloom.
Yep,
Um,
I agree.
I don't know of like outside of standard, like are there a whole lot of landfall decks in black?
I don't want to be quoted on this, but I do know that there's like a massive landfall, like combo-ish deck in standard that's super annoying. Where like you just play a ton of lands on one turn, and then with like World Rage or whatever, you just one-shot them.
Yeah, the World Soul Rage
Yeah,
or
that,
something like that.
yeah, that might not be with black though, but I mean I don't know. Maybe we'll see a new landfall deck. All right, and that's the last rare of the day we're gonna talk about. Let's move on to some uncommons. The first of which is Sugarcoat. For 2 and a blue, it's an aura. It's got flash and it says enchant creature or food. And then it says enchanted permanent is a colorless food artifact with pay 2, tap it, sacrifices artifact to gain 3 life, and loses all other card types and abilities. Wow. So just turn something into a food, huh?
Yep, turn something into a food. Why do you think this says enchant creature or food if it just turns a food into a food?
It's a good question. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's something to do with like, isn't there a creature that was just released or just announced that turned creatures already into food?
Yeah, but by that same logic, like two things. Number one, you could still target the creature because the creature's still food. So like,
Yeah,
at least from like the panther that we saw yesterday.
yeah,
However, maybe there's other ways to make maybe non-creatures foods.
yeah, maybe. Because yeah, after you asked that question, I'm trying to rack my brain and I don't have a good answer for that. Why would it just say creature? Yeah, because at the
Yeah,
surface of it, it's just a food. It's just creating another food.
yeah. I'm gonna make your food a food. There you go. And I spent 3 mana to do
It
it.
lost all abilities and it's food still. I don't know. Somebody maybe can
What
comment on that and help us.
what are your thoughts on the card itself?
I think it's pretty good for 3 mana to remove something like in EDH and standard and whatever. It's removing it, and actually you are gonna let that person though gain 3 life, right? Because they're gonna crack it if they want.
You're gonna
But
be
for
able to
all,
crack it.
yeah,
Like this isn't a permanent get rid of. Like I feel like what it would like the like change somebody's thing into something else, like the witness protection or those kinds of cards.
yeah,
Um, I don't think I like this one very much, just because like they pay 2 mana, and I don't know if it was their commander's just back in the command zone. You didn't really
yeah,
delay them a whole lot. I guess if it's not, if it's just like another creature that they happen to control, like sure you got rid of that thing,
yeah.
but
I mean, I guess
it's
it's a
kind of
good,
easy.
yeah, it's a good way to get rid of like abilities though too, which is nice. If it had like
That
a
is,
relevant static ability.
yeah. I mean that is true.
And I'm gonna say it, it's reminiscent of that Oko card that turns something into an elk, right?
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. The whole artwork on this card actually reminds me of Eldraine with the like little gingerbread
Yeah,
cookie thing.
well, there you go. We figured it out. Next up is Brightblade Stoat. 1 and a white for a 2/2 Weasel Soldier. It's got first strike and lifelink. And then some other text that isn't relevant. But those are
Flavor
good.
text.
Hey, it's a bear with first strike and lifelink, but it's a weasel, I know. But it's a bear with first strike and lifelink.
This is really pushed.
Yeah. I like this. I like it a lot, actually.
This might be one of the best, like just like go-to good 2 drops I think I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah. Damn, first strike and
Um,
lifelink.
yeah, any kind of like low to the ground aggro deck, which we're seeing a lot of pieces for, I think that this would slot really nicely into. Like, for example, you pump this thing just a little bit, or like I don't know, you throw an equipment onto it, and like it's already got really solid base stats. I think this is a very good card.
Relevant base stats and very relevant keywords, I'll tell you that too.
Mm-hmm. Even if you are just like playing up against like an aggro deck, like dropping this, you've totally killed the momentum of your
Yep.
opponent. Like they're probably not going to be able to swing in.
Yeah.
Because like they're gonna lose a creature and you're gonna lose life, or I'm sorry, and they're gonna gain life, which is like gonna further set you back.
Yeah. Like I know yesterday on a video I said that a white card was like an anti-red aggro card, but yeah, what you said, this one seems way worse. It comes down way sooner, and then it just eats up all those little attackers and gains you life.
Well,
That's
like because of the keywords on it too, I think that this is played in the aggro deck too. So it's like, are we gonna end up with like Boros aggro mirrors, where it's just like my bright blade is gonna swing into your bright blade?
and then it's just normal damage.
Well, it would be normal damage, but I mean, you're probably pumping or doing
Yeah.
something to take advantage.
Yep. I believe this will be played for sure. Mark our words. Next up, Quaketusk Boar. 3 and 2 red for a 5/5 elemental boar. Got reach, trample, and haste. Pretty straightforward again. It's got some relevant text. It's a 5/5 for 5. Is that good enough though?
They have like this whole. I'm gonna call it a cycle because we got a green one today as well. But like, there's just like this whole cycle of just like, here is a creature, and it doesn't actually like do anything, but it has like a ton of keyword abilities that are just like pasted on top of it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we just talked about the one in white. We saw one for green today. This is the one in red. Like, what are your thoughts on this one, Shane?
Besides it not having any reminder text with what those words are, it makes me think that it's a very new person or new player friendly card because it's like I don't know, it's not complicated. It's got a mana cost, it's statted appropriately for that, and then it's just got keywords that can do work. Again,
Yeah.
it's a little heavy of a drop. I don't know if this would be like the end of a curve for like a mid-range deck, or I don't know, but if it does see play, it would probably be more of a mid-range and not like, I don't know. Is 5 mana too much to be played in an aggro deck? I want to say yes.
Yeah, I don't think that I play this in standard. I think that if there is like big red deck that we see, like the Lynx that we talked about earlier, but I don't think we see the boar. But this is 100% in there for limited purposes. Like 5
Agreed.
damage out of nowhere with trample, like this is a card that is like it's gonna be really difficult for your opponent if you do drop this and just like start swinging in.
Yeah, I feel like if it's unlimited, it needs to be answered immediately. Next one is Consumed by Greed. 1 and 2 black for an instant. It has gift a card. It also says target opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. If the gift was promised, return target creature's card from your graveyard to your hand. So you're going to give your opponent a card, maybe. A little bit of recursion back to your hand. And then what? It's just like a good kill spell because it's not targeting?
Yeah, I mean this is also at instant speed too, so that is an additional upside here. They
Yeah.
do get to choose, or well, I guess they get to choose if there's like a tie, but like it does kind of like at least like target the thing with the greatest power, and that like they're forced to choose what sacrifice target.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this could be really powerful. There are, however, times in which like if they do happen to have like 2 3 3s, and that's the biggest creature, like they're going to be able to choose, and they're going to choose the one that's least relevant. There are
True.
also awkward times where it's like, I really need to kill their 2-drop. Their 3-drop's not as scary for whatever reason, and this doesn't get around that. But
Yeah,
um, how
that's
often do
true.
you think you're gifting?
Dude, I am so unsure about this gift mechanic because sometimes it seems okay, but gifting a card is that could just be really strong. We always talk about it, giving your opponent anything is not what we enjoy doing, but at the expense of putting something back in your graveyard to your hand that might be relevant to your game plan, is that worth giving your opponent a card? Maybe. Definitely a
I'm gonna
sacrifice.
say, yeah, I'm gonna say only if you can abuse it. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm probably ever gonna give a gift unless I have an effect in play, like a Shieldred or something, where it's like, hey, you also lost life.
Yeah. Well, what about gifting a fish, dude? Got some gift a fish cards. You don't want to give me a fish?
It depends on the card, I guess. I don't know. Fish, I feel like is much less relevant than a card.
Yeah.
You can have your 1/1 token. That's fine.
Fair enough. And then the last card we're going to talk about today is just Fell. For 1 and a black, it's a sorcery that says destroy target creature. Sweet, simple, to the point. I originally told you that I think this card is nuts. I do get that it's sorcery, so it's much slower. But 2 mana with really no restriction on just killing a creature seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. It's number one, it's like very just like simple design space. I do like the fact that this card exists. I think my problem here being is just because like it is sorcery speed. The fact that like I feel like this is a really cool card, and I don't think it's ever actually going to see play. And I understand that like if this were instant, this would be the best 2 mana removal spell in black we've ever seen, and they just can't do that. That power creep would be insane.
Yeah, I understand that. It's still maybe, I don't know. I want to live in a world where I think that it could still see play, but we will definitely see. And I know that Hunter would hate us not talking about the artwork because he thinks it's fantastic.
Oh no, no, the artwork on this card absolutely is like A plus plus. This is a very beautiful card.
Yeah, what is it, Maha? I think Maha is going to be a really cool character in this set.
We will see. I'm myself am very much so anticipating a different bird.
You're anticipating. I forgot the name of it already. Please help me.
Culligan.
Colligan in bird form, not in
Yes.
dragon form. Got it.
Loved her last time. However, we primarily play commander, and as it turns out, well, she doesn't work correctly in that format.
All right, well, that was all of it, man. Before we end, do you have a favorite of the day?
My absolute favorite of today. You know what? I know that this is going to sound probably a little bit weird, but I'm going to go with the Brightblade Stoat. I think that's probably going to be the most played card.
Yeah, that's not weird. I don't think
Also,
it's
it's
weird at all.
adorable.
I mean, if we're going by coolness and adorableness, I've got to pick Iridescent Vinelasher. The landfall could be relevant, and it's super cute.
Yeah.
Well, what are your guys' thoughts? Do you have a favorite card of the day? Drop us a comment letting us know. I think the set's looking to be fantastic, and I can't wait to see more spoilers tomorrow. So make sure you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss anything out. Also, like the video if you liked it. Down in our description, you'll find links to all of our social medias. That is TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all at Guys That Magic. Also, down in the description, you'll find a link to our Patreon. Everyone on the screen right now, these are all of our Patreons. If you want to see what they're seeing, which is not here on YouTube, exclusive content, some deck tech, some other goodies. That'll be over there. So maybe think about joining. And until the next video, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Later.